Welcome back, everybody. So again today we're talking a little bit more about my personal computer. If you remember the video where we put the water cooling loop in our progression to upgrade to Ryzen, one of the biggest issues with that case when I was doing the water cooling was there is no space in it. And that was one of the first things I needed to upgrade as I move the system, because of course I want to do some custom water cooling with some hardline tubing in the future, and to do so I'm going to need a little more space, and that's where the Gamdias Talos P1A comes in handy, and they sent one of these over along with a power supply and some fans, and we're going to take a look at that today, kind of look at the case, see what it has to offer, see what it's like to build in, and see if it's something you guys should pick up. And I will say, first impressions, I really like what they did with the tempered glass, because they use tempered glass, but they also, you know, have these big openings so you don't just have glass and no airflow. You kind of get the best of both worlds. Oh, also, I'm not going to be putting the water cooling back in. We're going to take out the custom loop for now. I have some other plans for that. I got some tests and other things I want to do also. So for now, we're going to move to an air cooler for the time being. And then we're going to try out a different strategy to cool the PC. It could turn out great. It could turn out horribly. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But for now, we're going to take everything out of this one, put it in this one, and then talk about this case. And then other than that, we're going to switch the power supply. You might see here the Kratos P1 650. There's nothing wrong with what I'm using. Still works fine, but this one has RGB, which is not really common for power supplies. There is more and more coming out with RGB, but if something's got RGB in it, it's got to be implemented into the case. And along with all these Alias fans, this thing's going to be a lot of RGB. Maybe too much. I doubt it, because I don't think that's possible. But we're going to see what it looks like, see what it's like to build in. So let's get started. All right, so now I remember why upgrading your case is something people tend to avoid. But I'm done now, and I've been gaming in this case for the last few days, so I think it's time to talk about its features and the build experience. And I think the best place to start is the price. The Gamdias Talos P1A that I have right there currently retails for $157.06, and I know what you're thinking. Wow, that's a bit pricey for a case. And normally I would agree. I mean, at first I thought the same thing. However, after getting my hands on it, building in it, and using it for the past few days, that price tag starts to make more sense. And I would even go as far as saying it's not really that bad of a deal when you consider everything you're getting. First off, this case comes with 3 RGB fans, installed, wired, and ready to go. And that's a pretty big deal considering some cases come with no fans. And that's sometimes a detail that's overlooked when you budget for your new PC, and then you end up having to buy fans, and then you really didn't have the money. You know what I mean. You overlook it. And the Alias 120mm fans that the Talos ships with aren't really some cheap fan you're just going to trash after opening the box. They perform quite well, and they're surprisingly quiet. I mean, they're running full speed behind me, and I don't even know if you can hear them. Also, the ring RGB lights that's on the fans, it's on either side, so regardless if they're mounted as intakes or exhaust, they look good. Additionally, being that this is the P1A, it comes with a pre-installed fan hub. allowing you to install 3 additional fans for a total of 6 and letting you control the LEDs and fan speeds from the front case I/O. Now, if controlling the fans from your front panel I/O really kind of isn't your style, well, don't worry, because it also comes with a 3-pin RGB cable that gives you the ability to plug that board directly into your motherboard, if you have a 3-pin header obviously, and control the effects with supported synchronization software. Unfortunately for myself, my Asus motherboard only has a 4-pin RGB header, so I couldn't really do this on mine, but if you have a 3-pin RGB header or a sync, should work with this case. But that's okay, because Gamdias also sent over a 5-pack of their Alias 120 fans, and this takes these fans to the next level. This fan pack includes the Alias Box 2, which supports all 5 fans and 2 LED strips. The best part though is that this box can be synchronized to the case board by connecting the Box 2 LED out to the case board and then holding the fan speed button on your front I/O for 3 seconds, and then after doing this, you can change the themes on your case and all the other fans by simply pressing the remote, which I like a lot better than hitting the front panel I/O. And when I mean themes, I don't mean like 2 or 3. The Box 2 in the 5-pack has 55 lighting effects, which is mind-blowing compared to other like RGB products out there with pre-installed themes. And I'm not going to show you them all right now, but if you're interested to see what they all look like, at the end of the video I'll kind of just show it going through all the effects and you can check it out then. Also, be aware that the Gamdias fans and control board on the P1A uses a 6-pin connector. This makes cable management easier, but it also means you can't just use any RGB fan with this controller. But RGB fans aside, the main reason I wanted to upgrade my case was space. If you remember the video when I did the custom water cooling in my S340 Elite, well, getting all that to fit in the S340 Elite was not easy. In the Talos though, that will not be an issue. There's literally ample space to add almost anything you want. The case supports 3 120s or 2 140 fans at both the front and the top, also 120 in the back, and the radiator support is just as good with 280 and 360 both supported at the front and the top. And I mean, if you're a crazy person, you could put like 2 360s, one in the front, one at the top, and then like a 120 in the back, and have just radiators for days. The case has tempered glass on all 4 sides, and the front and the back are hinged and easily removed, which I actually find quite appealing considering I'm used to the thumb screws on the S340 Elite. Now, the glass is tinted quite dark, which at first I will admit I wasn't really a fan. However, after spending some time with it, I've warmed up to the style, and it really stands out when like the case is off. It's unassuming and clean, but as soon as you hit the power button, things come to life and it becomes clear that there's more to meet the eye, and I actually do like it now that I've used it for a few days. Now, the glass on the back side, I understand, yes, it makes the case look cleaner, but it also makes cable management more of a pain. If you're like me, you tend to keep all the front looking nice and clean and the back looking like some sort of spaghetti explosion, but having tempered glass in the back, this means that that's not really an option, and not really for the reasons you might think. The dark glass does help to hide any lapses in good cable management, but any big bulging bundles of spaghetti wiring will push the back panel door open, which means if you're impatient like me, it can be a little frustrating. And if you're using custom extensions like myself, the rigidity of those wires, it can be an issue as well. After rebuilding this system, the problem that I ran into was that especially my 24-pin extender, it was trained for my S340 Elite, so it wasn't really into conforming to its new environment. This caused it to push like the back panel open. Now, I could have taken more time and laid it flat and zip tied it to all the plentiful cable management ties all over the case, but I think I couldn't be bothered with that. So what I ended up doing was I secured the back panel with a couple pieces of small duct tape, and it did hold the door shut. And then after a couple days, the 24-pin cable submitted to my technique and was trained to lay in a new position, and then I've since removed the tape and the door stays closed. Nice and easy now. Another thing that we see quite often is cases with this much glass tend to have reduced airflow. However, I'm pleased to report that this is not an issue. Gamdias really did a good design with the front and top tempered glass. Not only does the design look sick, it in no way impedes on airflow. The only negative I've found is that only the top has a dust filter, and personally, I think that if you're only going to include one dust filter, you're better off putting it at the front, considering that's what most people use as an intake to their case, and no, you can't just take the one off the top and put it at the front. I tried it, doesn't fit, so that's a bummer. Front panel I/O consists of 2 USB 2.0s, 2 USB 3.0s, HD audio, fan speed controller, and LED control. And if you don't like the I/O position at the bottom of the case, it can be swapped with the light up Gamdias logo. Oh, and the logo. Yeah, it's not RGB, and I think that's a bit of an oversight. On a case like this, if you're going to have a big prominent logo, it should be RGB, or at least like a neutral color, like black on black. The only good thing is though, if you don't like it up there, you can swap it with the IO panel. If you find another IO panel, you could have two, I guess, and if you have a 3D printer, you could make your own. So it can be removed if it's something you don't like. Along the bottom of the case is a well-ventilated power supply shroud, and if you have an RGB power supply, like the Kratos that Gamdias sent over, you can install it upside down, letting that glorious RGB shine through. On the back side of the case, there's two drive cages for either a 3.5 inch or a 2.5 inch drives, and two additional 2.5 inch drive mounting locations. Like all new cases, the Talos does support vertical GPU mounting. However, this case does not come with a riser cable, so if that's something you want to use, make sure you take note of that and buy yourself a riser cable when you order the case, or you're gonna be sad. As for the mount location, it does place the GPU pretty close to the glass, something that's really unavoidable given you still have your regular mounting slots. I did notice that having my GPU mounted here did show like an increase in the card's operating temperature. Now I didn't see any reduced performance, and the card still operates within spec, but it does run hotter, and it even heats up the glass during long gaming sessions. So just know that going in if this is a mount you want to use, the mount location. Now if you're going to be liquid cooling, not going to be an issue, and actually being that close to the glass would actually look pretty cool, but for air cooling, it's going to be a little hotter. All in all, the Talos P1A mid-tower case is an all-around great case. Easy to build in, clean lines, and really, really great airflow. Also, if you love RGB like myself, this case has it all. And it can be synchronized to all the good softwares out there, making everything easy to control, which can be a pain when you got this many RGBs. So, if you're looking for a case that won't limit your future expansion, the Gamdias Talos P1A is a case that I think is really worth looking at. And if you stuck around this long just to see the RGB light show, here it comes.